There are many islands in the sea near Scotland. This story is about one of these islands. The name of the island is Madagascar.
I like living here.
Madagascar isn't big, but it's very beautiful. It's very quiet, too. There are no houses or roads or cars on Madagascar. But there's a castle. The castle is very old. A young Scotsman lives in the castle. The Scotsman's name is James Smith. James Smith lives in the castle with his dog, Dexter. James Smith is very happy on his island. He likes going for walks with Dexter. He likes swimming and fishing in his little boat. There are many big rooms in James Smith's castle. They have a lot of old things in them, pictures and heavy tables, chairs and beds. In winter, the castle is very cold and dark. James Smith puts on a lot of electric lights in all the rooms. One Monday morning in April, James Smith gets a letter. "What's this?" he asks. He opens the letter. It's from the electricity company. James Smith reads, "Electricity from October to March, $9,000. Oh, James Smith says. I haven't got $9,000. What can I do? He's very unhappy. I can do only one thing, sell my island and my castle. James Smith telephones a man in London. The man's name is Mr. Moneybags. Mr. Moneybags sells houses and castles. I want to sell my island and my castle, James Smith says. Okay, Mr. Moneybags says. 2 days later, he telephones James Smith. Leaping Larry wants to buy your island, he says. Leaping, who? James Smith asks. Leaping Larry. You know, the famous American rock star. He wants to buy your island for his girlfriend. A rock star, James Smith says. Oh. He wants to see the island tomorrow afternoon, Mr. Moneybags says. Is that okay? Yes, James Smith says. Yes, of course. Leaping Larry and his girlfriend are coming to the island by helicopter. They're very late. James Smith and Dexter wait a long time. Then the helicopter arrives. A tall man with long dark hair gets down from it. He's about 45 years old. There's a girl with him. She's about 20 and has long yellow hair. There's a small animal with her. The animal has long white hair. Hi, the man says. I'm Leaping Larry. And this is my girlfriend, Roxanne. Hi, Roxanne says. This is my dog, Bobo. Larry looks at the castle. Look at that old castle, Roxanne, he says. Don't you love it, honey? Roxanne doesn't smile. It's only an old castle. Leaping Larry and Roxanne go into the castle. It's very dark. Leaping Larry can't see. He falls down. Where are the lights? he asks. I'm sorry, James Smith says. There isn't any light. The company stopped my electricity this morning. I want some hot food, Roxanne says. I'm sorry, James Smith says, but I can't make hot food. I haven't got any electricity. But there is some cold food. Cold food, Roxanne says. No, thank you. I'm going to bed. But first, I want a hot bath. And Bobo wants a bath, too. I'm very sorry, James Smith says. But there's no hot water. No lights. No food. No hot water. Roxanne says. I don't like this place. Now, honey. Leaping Larry says. Don't call me honey. Roxanne says. Let's go, Bobo. Roxanne and Bobo go to bed. Larry and James Smith eat cold food and talk. Dexter watches them. Suddenly Roxanne screams. James Smith, Larry and Dexter run to her room. Roxanne is in bed with Bobo. Honey, what's wrong? Larry asks. There was a noise in the room, Roxanne says. What was it? James Smith starts to smile. Why are you smiling? Roxanne says. She's very angry. Look at Dexter, James Smith says. Dexter is under the bed. He has a mouse in his mouth. A mouse. Roxanne says. She screams again. In the morning, James Smith and Leaping Larry are waiting. Roxanne and Bobo are late. They get up at 11 o'clock. Good morning, James Smith says. Roxanne doesn't answer. She says to Larry, Larry, I don't like this place. I want to go home. But, honey. Larry says. Don't call me honey. Roxanne says. This castle is old, dark, and very cold. There's no electricity, no food, and no hot water. And I don't like it. Do you understand? Listen, honey, Larry says. We can build a big new house here. Our friends from California can come and stay. James Smith looks at Dexter. Dexter looks at James Smith. Build a big new house, they think. Oh, no. Leaping Larry says, we want to see the island. Okay, James Smith says. We can go in my boat. James Smith, Larry and Roxanne get into James Smith's boat. Dexter gets in, too. Bobo is with Roxanne. It's a beautiful day, but Roxanne isn't happy. What do you do all day? She asks James Smith. I go for walks, James Smith says. Sometimes I swim. And sometimes I catch fish. Oh, Roxanne says. That isn't very interesting. Listen, honey, Larry says. We can make the island interesting. I know people with film companies. They can come here and make films. Hundreds of films. James Smith looks at Dexter. Dexter looks at James Smith. Film companies, they think. Oh, no. James Smith is very unhappy. He doesn't want to sell his island and his castle to Larry. He doesn't want film companies or Larry's friends on the island. But what can James Smith do? The electricity company wants $9,000. He has no money. He can't stay in his castle. James Smith, Larry and Roxanne are all sitting in James Smith's boat. Dexter and Bobo are with them. Suddenly, Dexter sees a rabbit on the island. Dexter loves catching rabbits. He jumps into the sea and starts to swim to the island. Bobo thinks this is interesting. And he jumps in, too. Bobo is in the water. Roxanne screams. Jump into the sea, Larry. Get Bobo. But Larry doesn't move. Why are you waiting? Roxanne says. Jump in. But, honey, Larry says, I can't swim. Can't swim. Roxanne says. She is very angry. Look. James Smith says. Bobo is okay. He's having a good time. Bobo is swimming in the water with Dexter. But Roxanne is very angry with Larry. You don't love me, she says. And you don't love me, Larry says. You only love Bobo. You're right, Roxanne says. She stands in the boat and starts to hit Larry. Don't do that. James Smith says. The boat moves. Roxanne falls into the water. She starts to scream. Roxanne is making a lot of noise. Dexter sees Roxanne in the water with Bobo. What are they doing? Are they playing a new game? Dexter wants to play, too. He swims to Bobo. Go away. Roxanne screams. James Smith brings the boat near Roxanne. Roxanne gets into the boat. Then Bobo gets into the boat. Roxanne is very angry. Take me back to California. Now, she says to Larry. Later, Larry, Roxanne, and Bobo get into their helicopter. Goodbye, James Smith says. Larry and Roxanne don't answer. The helicopter goes away. James Smith smiles at Dexter. He's very happy. Leaping Larry isn't going to buy our island, he says. That's good. But James Smith has big money problems. Leaping Larry doesn't want to buy the island. But where can James Smith get $9,000 for the electricity company? Later, James Smith telephones Mr. Moneybags in London. Leaping Larry telephoned me, Mr. Moneybags says. He doesn't like your island. He doesn't want to buy it. And I'm not going to sell it for you now. It's your problem. Goodbye. James Smith goes for a long walk with Dexter. He's very unhappy. They walk to a place across the island. And there James Smith sees a girl. She's looking at the sea and she's painting a picture. Near her is a small boat. Good afternoon, James Smith says. The girl looks at James Smith. She's beautiful. He likes her. Who are you? She asks. What do you want? I'm James Smith, James Smith says. I live here. Madagascar is my island. And this is my dog, Dexter. Dexter looks at the girl. He likes her, too. Madagascar is your island, the girl says. Oh. I'm Jean Stewart. I'm a teacher. I work in a school across the sea. Today is a holiday and the school is closed. I came here in my boat. I wanted to paint your island. The light is very good and the colors are very beautiful. I can paint good pictures here. James Smith looks at Jean's picture. Yes, he says. Your picture is very good. Thank you, Jean says. James Smith and Jean talk for a long time. Where do you live? Jean asks. I live in a castle, James Smith says. Come and see it. James Smith, Jean and Dexter go to the castle. Your castle is beautiful, Jean says. Yes, James Smith says. But it's very cold and dark. There's no electricity. I have no money. I love my island very much. But I can't make money from it. Jean looks at the castle. Suddenly she says, yes, you can. How? James Smith asks. People can come here for holidays, Jean says. They can paint pictures of your island. I can teach them. And they can stay in your castle. We can make a lot of money. James Smith looks at Dexter. Dexter looks at James Smith. You're right. James Smith says. Now McTavish painting holidays are very famous. Every year many visitors come to the island. They stay in the castle. They go for walks and paint beautiful pictures. They take their pictures back to their homes. The rooms in the castle aren't cold and dark now. James Smith and Jean have a lot of money. There is no problem with the electricity company. And Jean makes very good food. The visitors are very happy. James Smith and Jean are married now. They have 2 children, a boy and a girl. Dexter loves playing with the children. James Smith often sits in his little boat. Sometimes he catches a fish, but usually he sleeps. He's a happy